The tale kicks off in the towering megacity of Nushinjuku, where the lights never sleep. A student whips out her phone and thrusts a news article at her friend like it's breaking the world. In the loud, bustling classroom, everyone's buzzing as they tear into Ari Hashinomiya's brand new, unbelievable rank. Alone and munching quietly, Kinoko Kino feels the weight of her isolation crush in on her like an awkward spotlight. Nearby, a boy starts bragging nonstop, claiming he's leveling up thanks to a part-time job. He slams his hand forward and a glowing holographic screen erupts, showing his new world rank. His rank explodes on screen as 150,000,000,000,3 899th overall, and his friend's jaw drops in pure disbelief. Another classmate slams his desk and loudly proclaims he's coming for the top spot. The first boy bites into his meal, but his focus snaps away the moment something catches his eye. He locks eyes with Kinoko across the room, and she goes totally still, stunned. Striding right up to her, he bluntly demanded to know her world rank. Kinoko's mind snaps to white as she panics, desperately scrambling for a single reply. The boy takes her terrified silence the wrong way and bursts out laughing at her. He jokes that it'd be hilarious if she were the weakest high schooler. Another girl shoots over an apology because her friend's social skills are basically non-existent. Mortified, Kinoko can only stand there and watch them stride off, still cackling like the moment isn't over yet. That sudden, awkward moment traps her in place, and her face just freezes in pure shock. The class schedule flashes the next period, history, and it's coming fast. A teacher kicks off class with two wild anomalies he uncovered from 25 years ago. Kinoko slumps over her desk, drowning in misery after that brutal lunch encounter. The teacher kicks off the story by pointing to the very first anomaly, hostile strangers suddenly appearing out of nowhere. Then boom, the rules changed, and everyone suddenly got to see their world rankings. Kinoko feels like the world has stamped him as a total failure in this place. The lesson drops a bombshell. World rank #1 isn't any clear identity at all. It's just the mysterious guy known as Unknown. Kinoko finally realizes there's no one she can reach except her own family. After school, she slips out alone and gets lost wandering the loud, sprawling streets of the city. She feels tiny and swamped, then slips out of sight under a public staircase, hiding like the world is too loud. Her face is a tight mask of panic as she stares at her phone, bracing for whatever hits next. Her contacts lay bare her loneliness, 1 month in, and there isn't a single friend. A loud public announcement suddenly blares across the streets, snapping every nearby pedestrian's attention in an instant. A massive digital billboard blares an ad for a service that kicks into gear the moment a stranger is spotted. Ari Hashinomiya World Rank #99 steps into the spotlight in a bold ad, proudly representing Hashinomiya Industry Busters. Eiri flashes a confident wink and swears she'll keep everyone safe no matter what. Two women on the sidewalk stare up, drinking in Eiri's grace and his noble, commanding aura. Tokyo's sheer size still hits Kinoko like a punch, and she can't shake the fear that she doesn't belong. Her little sister Eiko shoots her a text packed with luck for the big call. A faint, stubborn smile creeps onto Kinoko's face as she reads the message. With her sister cheering her on, she steels her resolve and vows to give it everything she's got. She snatches up a crumpled flyer and stares at the job her sister had pushed her to apply for. Her anxiety instantly rips open a terrifying image, like some loud welcome party is about to explode in her face. A flyer in the window blares the phone number for that fast food spot's Shinjuku branch. With a trembling gulp, she clutches her phone like it might bite, then braces herself to hit that call. Her pulse hammers like crazy as she slowly dials the number, one shaky digit at a time. Her heart pounds like a war drum, and fear floods her face all at once. Her trembling thumb hovers right over the final decisive call button, shaking the whole moment. She grimaces through the strain, sweat pouring down her face as she fights to keep going. Right at the last possible second, the crushing pressure finally snaps and overwhelms him. She crumples in a lonely alley, totally wiped out by the one simple task. Her thoughts are in full panic. Calling a total stranger to ask for a job feels flat out impossible. Climbing the mountain of a customer service job is way too steep for a country girl to handle. She slumps into her feet, lets out a heavy sigh, and thinks she's let her supportive little sister down. That sharp, sudden scream from a child slices straight through her darkest thoughts. A little girl sobs to her mom, devastated because she can't find her keychain anywhere. The kid hurls the biggest tantrum, spinning on the ground like the world just betrayed them. Kinoko's eyes lock onto a tiny object glittering on the pavement nearby. She spots it right away, the very lost keychain the little girl had been sobbing over. Clutching the item in her hands, she gets slammed, again, by crippling social anxiety that leaves her totally frozen. She panics in real time, wondering what she's supposed to do while the mother and child get ready to leave. She throws her mouth wide to shout, but all that rips out is a strangled, silent gasp. Her hand shoots out on instinct, but her voice cuts out, leaving only panic in the air. The moment slips away, and her hesitation steals the only chance she had to help. She ends up standing there all by herself on the sidewalk, no one else around, just her, looking totally alone. She realizes the hardest part isn't fighting or failing at all, it's just getting the courage to talk to people. With a heavy, heartbroken look, she sways the lost keychain from her fingers like it's slipping away. Staring out over the giant city spread beneath her, she can't help but wonder what she's supposed to do next. Her sister texts her again, swearing she'll land her a more low-key job. She flips open her wallet and the truth hits hard. After living on her own for years, she's suddenly broke. Near a bunch of vending machines, she stares at the prices and goes, "Tokyo really is insane, everything's crazy expensive." The city is packed with temptations, fresh new manga everywhere and even collaboration cafes that practically beg you to step inside. A foggy, drained exhaustion sinks into her as she drifts through the streets. She clamps her fist tight, and the memory of her sister's terrified warning about her speed-running loner life comes crashing back. On a rattling train, her determination hardens into something unbreakable. The train's digital sign flickers and screams the next stop, Amotsando Restricted Area. Her face twists with nervous jitters and bright anticipation as she steps up at the station. The place is packed to the brim, and the swarm of voices drowns her in non-stop chatter. She spots people swarming around with all kinds of tools and weapons, bats, hammers, and more, like they're ready to strike. A light swaying shop banner hangs right above one of the nearby buildings, catching your eye instantly. She suddenly feels tiny and completely out of place, surrounded by people who are heavily armed. A warning sign on the fence screams that this spot is off limits, right over a shallow layer. A guy blasts instructions through a megaphone, herding everyone straight toward the part-time job sign-up area. He roars at the massive, pumped-up crowd, telling them to pile onto the waiting guard trucks. A scoreboard flashed the day's mission, Starbug, Citrus Nail, and Melon Lizard, right there in black and white. Your mission is simple: hunt down the creatures, snag them alive, and rip out their cores. A hulking, military-grade truck rumbles down the street and kicks off its mission on the road. It crashes into a shattered city, where wild, alien-looking plants have taken over every cracked street. A guide snaps at the workers, warning them, keep every hunt strictly in the shallow layer, nothing deeper. He flat-out bans anyone from getting anywhere near the inner wall that guards the deep layer. Kinoko listens, then watches as he snaps that they'll continue, fully at their own risk. Inside, she watches two other girls team up, grinning from ear to ear as they race to hunt Satru's nails. She can't help but daydream, thinking how amazing it'd be to work side by side with a best friend. All alone, she strides along the bottom of that towering separating wall. She keeps twitching her gaze around the empty, lawless stretch of land beside the barrier, like she's afraid it'll strike first. Slip past the gnarled path and she reassures herself, this can't be that dangerous. A blinding flash erupts from somewhere deep inside the ruins, like the darkness just got punched in the face. A brutal flash of light erupts out of nowhere, like distant fireworks bursting across the sky. A beat-up old flip phone sits abandoned in the wreckage, surrounded by jagged crystal growths like something out of a nightmare. A ruined, lifeless wasteland stretches out, packed with twisted wreckage and eerie plants that look ripped straight from another world. A weird sound rips from somewhere close, and Kinoko whips around, curiosity sparking like crazy. A weird, citrusy nail skitters and rustles through the trashy debris beside a pile of discarded cans. With a joy-filled leap, Kinoko rockets into the air and yells that she's found one. In a crumbling backstreet, a teapot-shaped monster is snatched up in one brutal, decisive splat. A schoolgirl flashes her prize to the crowd like it's treasure, proud as can be after raking in a whopping 200 yen. Crouched among the wreckage, she spots another potential target lurking in the distance. Out here, the local wildlife isn't just random. There's a 300 yen melon lizard and a 100 yen star bug roaming around. Clutching her earnings, she grins and declares, now I can finally buy a manga. She boldly declares she needs 10,000 yen, then charges off to track down a creature nest. Above the city, a helicopter kicks into the sky, signaling the story just shifted gears and the vibe turned tense. Inside, a serious blonde woman sipping tea tilts her cup and greets someone with a quiet, simple hello. Ari Hashinamiya rank #99 straight up demands, tell me who the world's top ranker is. Shinji Yuzuyama, a low-ranking official with a sly grin, insists he has no clue at all. Her face hardens with suspicion as she tears into his ministry's terrible intelligence network. Shinji casually throws out, if I find out I'll tell you, then adds, unknown in Japanese. Then he slyly drops her father's company into the conversation, showing exactly how it fuels the weapon supply. Eiri's eyes narrow hard, and it's obvious he's not buying a single word of his dodging attempt. She lifts her hand and declares the total human population is 35 billion. A mind-bending holographic screen bursts to life right in front of her gloved hand. The screen rips through a torrent of names and rankings like it's showing you the entire world's lineup in seconds. Right under Roberto Adon's #98, her own rank, #99, sits front and center, screaming for attention. She tells them that the moment you check the ranking, your name and nationality get exposed instantly. Kids and bored old folks are just labeled as unknown. A single bead of sweat snaps onto her skin the moment the shocking truth hits her. She's convinced the #1 ranker is purposely dodging their status check. So why would the strongest keep their identity secret, like that question is hovering over everything, unanswered? She weighs the terrifying odds, either a secret agent or a terrorist is secretly plotting to strike the nation. The name she can't remember keeps screaming through her head as she clenches her fist, like she's about to break something. She clenches her resolve and swears she'll outshine that rival, snatch the top spot for herself. On a high city overpass, cars glide beneath a perfectly clear sky, peaceful as if nothing can go wrong. Suddenly, the street starts to crack and split apart, like something huge is tearing up the ground from underneath. An eye snaps wide with shock the moment the street erupts in chaos. A hulking, twisted, plant-like monster explodes out of nowhere, and the crowd instantly starts whispering in pure terror. Pods along the stalk snap open, and something dark is already stirring inside. Tiny, strawberry-like creatures start shuffling out of those open pods. A terrified man gapes at his phone, and the people behind him freeze in stunned silence. Panic detonates the moment the creatures swarm, people shriek, scramble, and scatter as fear takes over. A phone screen suddenly blares with a beep, an emergency stranger appearance alert pops up for Sando. Shinji scans the alert, and his face lights up with shock because the attack is hitting this kind of central spot. Eiri grimly orders her transport to be aborted, then admits the stranger attacks in Tokyo are still happening. A frantic order bursts out, get every gardener on it and defend the civilians at all costs. Shinji calmly overrides the order and straight up tells them those drastic measures won't be needed. Eiri slaps on her headset and with total confidence announces she's going to wipe every last one of them out. Meanwhile, the schoolgirl exhales a shaky sigh of relief in a quiet back alley. She decides the fancy streets of Sando are just too draining to even bother walking through. She scans her earnings and the receipt flashes a total payout of 7,650 yen. A kid's scream yanks her attention, then, when she listens closer, she realizes it is the person she expected. She peeks around the corner and hears a little kid crying like it's the end of the world nearby. She spots the kid from the station, then watches him collapse into a full-blown tantrum right there on the ground. From her hiding spot, the girl watches the tantrum erupt in front of her, piece by piece. She clutches a tiny action figure like it's the key to everything, certain it must matter a whole lot to the kid. Crippling anxiety crashes in as she wrestles with the thought of talking to a stranger for the first time in 10 long years. She waves off the romantic comedy fantasy, like there's no way a toy drop can be that smoothly returned. She gathers her nerves, squares her shoulders, and decides to hand it over with a bright, fearless smile. She pumps herself up, flashing a quick reminder. She's a brand new high school girl now, fresh start and all. In the phone's reflection, her nervous try at a sweet smile snaps into a horrifying grin. Panic crashes through her and she hurls the toy with a stiff, unnatural fling. That weird, clumsy movement hits her like she's dropped straight into a horror movie. She pokes her head out, and when she sees the family already gone, panic explodes through her. A wave of relief hits her hard, right after she completely blows it. Right away, self-hatred crashes over her, and all she wants is to vanish into thin air. Her face twists into a silent scream, pure and pathetic frustration exploding in her expression. A violent explosion erupts out of nowhere, blasting through the street and hurling a car into the air. Panic erupts, terror-struck civilians shriek and sprint as chaos barrels through town without stopping. Ministry of Defense soldier Hachigoma can't even process what's happening. Pure disbelief hits him like a wall. He can't stop wondering where this swarm of scuttling, onion-like strangers is coming from. He and his partner dug in and refused to budge as the creatures closed in. His partner, Unami, watches in total shock, eyes wide with pure terror. One of the strangers unleashes a blazing energy beam straight at them. The beam crashes into Hashio's shield, and a blinding flash explodes across the screen. The shield crackles, splinters, and starts to give way under the brutal onslaught. Unami gasps, terrified, exposed, and seconds away from getting hit again. A hulking, garlic-shaped stranger drops from above and traps the terrified young woman in its shadow. Hashio spits out a curse, furious and helpless, because he knows he can't get to her in time to save her. Right at the last second, a blade screams through the air and splits the creature clean in two. Unami gasps in pure shock as the bisected monster melts away into the black liquid right in front of her. A booted foot slams down on what's left, while a voice on comms praises the soldier's work. Ari Hashinamiya steps up and declares that her company's busters are taking over this fight from here on out. The soldiers spot her and realize she's one of the numbers, and a huge wave of relief crashes over them. Unami's jaw drops, she's staring straight at the legendary Aryan, and pure starstruck awe hits her like a wave. Ari's headset finishes its scan, then slaps a C+ on the threat level like it's nothing. She swats those creatures aside like they're nothing, barely even a warm-up for her brand-new prototype weapon. She orders her AI, TARS, to record every second of the prototype's deadly cutting test. Her combat suit hums to life, blasting out a terrifying 60% power. She springs into the air with effortless grace, soaring above a seething horde of strangers. With one crisp slash, she cleanly splits the creature in two, effortlessly. Her face stays locked in a deadly calm, and she keeps hammering forward with unstoppable precision. She spins into a full-blown blur of power, carving through multiple enemies in one unstoppable sweep. Hashio stands there jaw-dropped and blurts out about the insane power of a world-rank #99. Eiri squares up to the last horde and dares them. Come on then, bring the fight. She's convinced that every stranger she crushes makes her stronger, and she's hungry to prove it. The earth rips open with a brutal roar, and something massive starts clawing its way up from the deep. A giant watermelon-patterned stranger bursts up through the pavement, towering over her like it's nothing. The creature lines in and taunts her, demanding to know if she's really planning to be its next meal. Its striped shell rips apart, and out pops a grotesque face packed with too many eyes, staring back like a nightmare. Eiri's face stays stone calm, like that monstrous reveal doesn't even faze her. From a nearby building, Shinji clenched his teeth and cursed at the monster's insane size. A crack rips through the creature's shell as it drops, plummeting toward the ground. Eiri snaps backward at the last second, barely dodging a chunk of shrapnel that comes crashing down. She doesn't even blink, she rockets forward, blade raised high like a promise. Her sword rips through the monster's tough hide like a lightning strike, leaving it reeling from the sheer force. The blade bursts with steam, hammered by the massive impact and raw friction. Eiri clenched her jaw, fuming because that creature's shell was tougher than it had any right to be. A long-haired warrior swings with pure fury and lands a devastating hit on a towering striped monster. That weird, multi-eyed face doesn't even blink, it just keeps munching with a creepy sound. It erupts from the core with a massive, blinding beam of raw energy. The warrior clenches her teeth as a massive explosion detonates right in front of her. A brutal blast shockwave rips through the city streets, shaking everything in its path. The explosion unleashes an immense force that craters the earth, splitting it apart in a violent shatter. A nearby blonde woman in a headset stares, and the shock is written all over her face behind the mask. She stares at the smoldering ruins in shock, realizing an entire city block has vanished. Her headset blares threat level S, and it orders a retreat right now. Inside a command center, he snaps with pure panic at the S-level threat looming ahead. He panics and barks orders for his team to drag the Prime Minister onto the line right now. He blasts out that their operative, Eiri, will be doomed unless backup arrives right now. A brand new foxy-haired warrior pings her AI and blurts, "If I beat that monster, does it bump my rank up?" She smirks with pure satisfaction as she spots the projected rank climbing to perfection. She pours every ounce of her power into her arms and unleashes a full-force strike. On the battlefield, a determined Eiri grits her teeth and cranks her power to a scorching 100% output. She barrels ahead like a storm, determined to smash the creature with everything she's got. In a helicopter, the man screams at Eiri to back off, his voice breaking with desperation. She shoots him a cold look, then clamps down on her sword with brutal grip, teeth clenched as all her strength pours into the effort. A raging storm of slashes blasts through the monster's hard shell. Thunder slams down, and at the exact point of impact, a blinding explosion erupts. Her blade hammers the exact same spot again and again, each strike landing with brutal, world-shaking force. The attack ends with one brutal final slash, and her face is locked in pure focus. In the ruins, the fox-seared warrior down for breath, utterly wrecked. Cracks start crawling across the monster's shell, and then out of nowhere, they seal shut like the creatures fighting to survive. With a soft pop, the shell knits itself back together, perfect and spotless, like the damage never even happened. Eiri freezes in total disbelief, watching her full-force attack crash and burn like it never even landed. Her arm jerks and spasms violently, pushed past what her body can handle. Her suit blares a muscle strain warning, but she snaps it off with pure rage. She whips her hand to the performance-enhancing injector strapped to her belt. Just as she's about to strike, the monster snaps back with a brand new attack. It blasts out a storm of energy projectiles, each one zipping with a crisp, soft whoosh. The creature's many eyes bore through the cloud of dust and wreckage. The suited man squints, wondering if she's laying down a smoke screen. Ares bursts out of the smoke cloud from above, then plummets straight down like he's hunting his target. Her sword flashes as she drops onto her unsuspecting target, ready to end it in one swing. With a cocky smirk, she's convinced she finally cornered the monster. The shell splits open with a sickening snap, and there it is, another layer packed with even more eyes. This brand new pair of eyes blasts out an absolutely massive energy beam, so intense it feels impossible to survive. The shockwave slammed the command vehicle, whipping the man inside around like he weighed nothing. A nearby helicopter gets slammed by the blast, and it tumbles out of the sky into a deadly crash. Bodies got blasted into the air, and there was nothing left to stop the attack, pure, total helplessness. She crashes into the ground with a brutal thud, smashing a crater into the earth. A tiny girl with a bow in her hair just stares, eyes wide, tears pouring as terror grips her heart. Eiri lies still in the rubble, shattered in both body and spirit. Her suit flashes critical damage and slams the verdict, fighting on is impossible. With her final breath, she gasps a desperate plea straight to her AITARS. A little girl stands there in silence, gripping her vow like it's a lifeline. She'll never lose to anyone, no matter what. She sprints to the fallen Eiri, panicking and shouting her name like it might slip away. The colossal monster snaps its terrifying gaze straight onto the child, like it's already decided. The girl freezes in terror, stammering helplessly as the creature looms in front of her. Her mind is sprinting in circles as panic hits, and she can't stop asking herself what she can possibly do. A braid-sporting schoolgirl shows up, frowning hard as she decides it's just not right to let a lost thing stay lost. She remembers that girl breaking down, crying as she clung to her grandfather's words about helping people. With fresh determination burning in her chest, she decides she can't stand by, she has to step in. With pure fury in her chest, she rockets forward and slams into the monster for the kill. With one single kick, she crushes the monster's shell into a shower of fragments. She drops in, groaning that it was pure misery, right after she psyched herself up for it. The tiny girl with the bow freezes in place, staring hard with her mouth hanging open in pure, total disbelief. A flashback freezes on the schoolgirl's stoic face, and you can practically feel her mentally locking in. That memory clashes hard with her current state. She's frozen in panicked silence. She grips her head and screams that talking to strangers is completely impossible. With her heart pounding from sheer overwhelm, she spins around and bolts away from the battlefield of her victory. A tiny little girl peeks out from behind a pile of rubble, utterly stunned and clueless. She whips her head around the empty, ruined street, totally stunned and still trying to piece together what just happened. A winking, airy-eyed advertisement pops up on the side of a nearby building. She cranes her neck at the Irish shop banner, heart pounding and can't stop asking who just saved her. Kinoko, the schoolgirl, pauses for a breath and finally locks in on her real mission for the day. She set her heart on one thing, tracking down the lost keychain and getting it back to that little girl. She rehearsed those simple lines again and again, knuckling her fist tight with pure, unshakable resolve. She kept murmuring the words under her breath, rehearsing them like a secret spell before she finally stepped in. With a fierce, unshakable look in her eyes, she vowed to herself, "I can do this." She'd gone all in, no backing out now, as she set out to finish that simple, terrifying task. She launched off the rooftop and sprinted straight for the little girl. But now, as she flees, she can only sob that it was hopeless from the start. Perched on that sign, she tells her sister, "I can't talk to strangers." Her sister cheers her on, reminding her she did manage to come back with the keychain. Her sister's sweet words hit her like a warm spotlight, proving straight up that she's proud of her. Kinoko's cheeks flare with a shy blush because that praise and support hits her way harder than she expected. With a shy little question, she asks her sister if she truly means it, and gets a bright, joyful yes right back. Shinji braces himself in front of the towering, twisted remains of the monster he just crushed. He's totally stunned, trying to figure out who in the world could have pulled something like this off. He's obsessed with the most powerful soul out there, the world's One, the one legend that everyone fears. But he shuts that idea down on the spot, muttering under his breath that it couldn't possibly have been them. After the chaos hit, two men sprinted in to grab a stretcher for Section Chief Yuzuyama. They've thrown up a temporary relief camp for the survivors, giving them a breath of safety after everything. A woman bursts into joyful tears as she scoops up the little girl with the bow, and boom, she's finally reunited with her. The little girl glances down at the tiny keychain clutched in her hand. It's a chibi doll of the girl who saved her. She grips that tiny effigy with both hands, staring at it with this calm, awestruck admiration. Beneath a sky packed with stars, someone can't stop asking, does that mysterious hero, the one whose name we never learned, still roam out there? Whoever this unseen person is, they can't stop wondering what kind of person that mysterious protector really is. On a bustling city street, reporters suddenly swarm Kinoko, crowding him and demanding an interview about what happened. Eiri Hashinamiya scans a report that insists she smashed an A-class stranger. In a silky set of lingerie, she laughs it off, claiming this news is just a blatant, staged twist of the truth. She clocks that the stranger was S-ranked, and then realizes someone else already tore it down. She hurled her clothes off and urgently demanded TARS pull up the case footage. An AI voice screams that the Ministry of Defense yanked every last piece of surveillance footage. That final voice basically sealed it for everyone. This S-ranked stranger's defeater had to be an unknown, unseen force. It locks in one brutal fact: not a single fighter in Japan can solo an S-class, and 0 foreign rankers are anywhere to be seen. An AI spits out a jaw-dropping 99.9% chance that world rank the mystery figure with no known identity, was right there at the scene. The wounded blonde woman grips herself and steps into that sleek, futuristic chamber, like she's about to face whatever's waiting inside. She steps into a vital capsule, and as soon as she does, it fires up its self-healing protocol like it's already saving her life. A nurse carefully swings an oxygen mask over her face as she braces for recovery. Her bare feet pad softly onto the floor of the medical pod. With a sharp hiss, pressurized gas blasts into the chamber, and the healing finally kicks off. She drifts inside the capsule, knocked out cold, while her battered body quietly knits itself back together from those brutal injuries. Inside the pod, her mind drifts and she can't stop wondering, where in the world is her mysterious rival? Elsewhere, Kinoko scoffed, then shut the whole idea down for good, like there was no arguing with it. A flashback rips open the past. Kinoko snaps and bickers with her sister after her disastrous first day. An elderly woman beams with warmth, watching their endless, youthful energy never quit. Kinoko's fight to fit in unfolds right on the loud, rushing city streets. She lets out a bleak verdict, sure this road will slam her into loneliness with not a single friend in sight. Her sister hits her with a heartbreaking reminder, their grandfather's dying wish she's supposed to enjoy school. They tell her to calm down because her wild imagination is the one thing that keeps tripping her up. Inspired by her grandfather's memory, Kinoko vows she'll give it everything she's got. Kinoko's sister blurts out shaky encouragement, totally sensing how her anxiety is crashing down on her. As she waves goodbye, her sister leans in and tells her, "Call me if anything happens." Then she skips off, grinning wide as she chats nonstop with her friends. Kinoko is stuck there, standing alone, and that fresh spark of determination is already starting to drain away. A month later, she's locked away in the classroom, sitting alone while chatter spills everywhere from those leaking mouths. She frantically devours a How to Make Friends book for elementary school kids, like it's her lifeline. That popular classmate Moa bursts with excitement and shouts that she finally made it into a magazine. Kinoko sits there thinking about it, how, after just 1 month, everyone's friend group had already locked in for good. Moa beams with pride as she proudly holds up the magazine article that puts her in the spotlight. It names her as Moa Igarashi, a model who's also ranked in the 7-digit tier. Then another classmate, Neidshiko Yuzuyama, steps up and praises Mo for her incredible win. Other students whisper and snicker, labeling Nadeshiko's elite reputation as downright condescending. Kinoko clenches her jaw as she realizes she's right in the middle of Tokyo's most brutal frontlines. Moa suddenly materializes at her desk, and Kinoko jerks in shock from the sudden presence. That sudden approach blasts a jolt of shock straight through the anxious girl. Leaning over her desk, Moa leans in close and confirms, "My name is Kino." Moa flashes a confident smile and asks if she's got anything planned after school. Two girls crowd up beside Kinoko's desk in a classroom that feels almost abandoned. Kinoko's nerves spiral out of control as she pictures herself getting bullied behind the school. Moa can't shake it. Kinoko always ends up all alone, like she's somehow never with anyone else. Leaning in so close it's almost a whisper, she suddenly dares Kinoko to hop into the hunting gig. Kinoko snaps her gaze up from her book, and pure shock hits her eyes like a wave. Nadeshiko blurts out a heartfelt apology for how suddenly that crazy invitation dropped into their lives. Their phone lights up with the job, a 5-person mission to snag a stranger's shell. Kinoko freezes, her mind going completely blank as she scrambles for a single, coherent word. She stammers, desperately trying to get it through. Her schedule is wide open. Her face twists in sheer agony just to force the words out. She suddenly roars out, "My schedule is completely wide open, no plans at all." Her explosive declaration slams into the classroom, and every student freezes into dead silence. Every single student whips their head toward her, and pure shock hits their faces like a wave. Kiniko immediately clocks just how big her social disaster really is. She panics and blurts out her explanation, insisting her voice just crumpled from disuse. Blinding embarrassment crashes over her, and her face turns a deep, stinging red. She's convinced her one shot at making friends is completely obliterated. To Nadeshiko's surprise, she breaks into a warm smile and tells Kinoko, "I'm so happy you can join." The other girls nod along, and suddenly it feels like fate, like there's no way they weren't meant to land in the same class. Moa beams and declares, "All right, everyone, let's get along starting now." Tears of pure, unstoppable joy flooded Kinoko's eyes. She thinks there's no way God isn't on our side, he's gotta be agreeing to meet us later. As the crew heads out, one girl flashes a smirk and whispers that they just ran into a total weirdo. Now the Sheikah strides alongside them, calm on the surface, but her face gives nothing away. Right after the final bell, the brand new crew surges toward their destination. They push into a restricted zone, hidden among crumbling shrine ruins in Manada Ward. A guard shouted for them to stick together in groups and warned them to stay clear of the spine-red jellyfish. Nadeshiko steps up and tells everyone, "I've finished the registrations, done." They've got one brutal job, hunt down shells from an A-rank stranger who was already defeated 5 years ago. A girl hands out supplies, then clocks the real kicker. Each item fetches a crazy high price. Moa shoots Narashiko a look and remarks that this honor student is freakishly prepared. The whole crew gets geared up and starts marching out, itching to kick off the day's mission. A sharply polished shoe slams down in a deliberate step, full of pure, unstoppable purpose. A spiky-haired girl yelps in shock as someone suddenly tangles her legs and knocks her down. She slams into the ground in a brutal, messy heap, sprawled out like everything just shattered. Moa lets out a cruel laugh and sneers at the fallen girl, mocking her for being so clumsy. Nadeshiko couldn't stop herself. Deep down, she just knew Moa had something against her. The video shows Moa going absolutely beast mode on an arcade punching machine with pure, unstoppable strength. Moe's friends crowd around and blast her with non-stop praise for her insane power. She smirks and claims her power is totally average, like it's no big deal for any 7-digit ranker. Then the whole crew shifts their focus to Neijiko, and they demand, right then and there, what her rank is. They stare at her pitiful low 9-digit ranking, hit with shock, then can't help but laugh like they're sorry for her. Moa smirks and tells her to calm down. Most people out there are just nobodies. Now Tashiko's convinced Moa keeps her close just to use her as a prop, to make herself look good. Elsewhere, 2 male students huddle together and whisper like they've spotted a secret. Nathashiko is at their school. They stare at this kid from an elite family like, "Why on earth would you show up at our school?" People are whispering that she got rejected when she took her entrance exams. A brutal flashback hits her, and she slashes her dream right out of that career survey form. She's got a grim new plan: stay polished, act like everything's fine, and push through to graduation. She's decided she'll scrape by, nothing more, just the bare minimum she needs to survive. She knows one thing for sure: if she gets booted from that popular group, she's done. Moa can't help but feel bad for the Yuzuyama family. If their own situation is like this, yikes. Now Shiko just has to grit his teeth and survive the wait until classes get reshuffled next year. A hand reaches out and softly offers a spotless, neatly folded handkerchief. Kinoko drops to her knees and rushes to help Nadeshiko, who's crumpled on the ground. Red cheeks blazing, she hurriedly shoves a handkerchief into Nadeshiko's hands. Now the Shiko snaps his gaze upward, stunned by the kindness that hits him out of nowhere. She spots exactly who's been helping her, while Moa's group watches from afar. Nadeshiko flashes a small, steady smile, thinking of Kinoko, and tells her, "I'm fine, okay." As Nadeshiko hauls herself up from the dirt, Kinoko stares at her with worry burning in his eyes. Moa's crew impatiently yells at them to hurry, "Come back and link up with us right now." Kinoko can't stop thinking about those rumors, and it hurts her to watch Nadeshiko get dragged through it. Shiko decides to back off, panicked that their past failures might get pinned on her too. Kinoko gets hit with Nadeshiko's raw strength and instantly decides, "I've got to be her friend." Kinoko can't help but admire Yuzuyama's grown-up presence, and a fierce urge sparks in her to become her friend. Then it smacks her like lightning. After school, they're going to team up and hunt together. Frustration surges as she texts a family member, saying it's official that her friends feel it now. Staring out over the city, she tells her late grandpa that she's finally, genuinely enjoying high school. The girls kick off their hunting gig in a park-like stretch of land, right as the hunt begins to heat up. Moa Igarashi lets out a bored sigh as she mindlessly scrolls through her phone game. She rips into them because they still can't dig up a single thing that proves the job is actually profitable. Nadeshiko Yuzuyama holds up a tiny rainbow-colored shell she just found while hunting for something. Huddled in the bushes, Kinoko slumps and curses her own silence, unable to blurt out even a single word. Her thoughts sprint in circles, and she scrambles for anything at all, to start a conversation. She jolts, then snaps her gaze upward like a lightning bolt of realization just hit her. Another girl bursts in with wild excitement, announcing she's found something, and the whole room instantly turns to watch. Igarashi and Yuzuyama whip around, eyes locked in on the commotion like something big just exploded off-screen. From the bushes, Kinoko uncovers a creepy rustling thing, half sticks, half mushroom, like it crawled straight out of a nightmare. She beams as she unveils her creation, a stick shroom, to her totally baffled classmates. Kinoko's blown away. These crazy good snacks aren't just tasty, they're wild growing right in the city. She offers a bite, and Higurashi hits her with raw scathing disbelief and straight-up disgust. Kinoko says it's a tasty snack from Gunma, and Igarashi snaps back, calling it downright gross. The other girls huddle together and snicker, teasing Gunma like he crawled in from some totally different world. Yuzoyama snaps Kinoko's name like a command, and her eyes lock on him instantly. She snaps a warning at Kinoko, but in her own head she's already decided she's nothing but a country bumpkin. Yuzuyama finally realizes dragging Kinoko into this was a brutal mistake. Igarashi watches her leave, dread creeping in, as Yuzoyama's rotten mood threatens to throw the whole group off. With a clear declaration, Yuzuyama slips deeper into the alley and goes in solo to hunt for answers. She leans out from behind a brick corner, scanning for the next target with bated breath. Hunched in the alley, she suddenly spots something up ahead and her focus snaps to it. Igarashi locks eyes on a grotesque monster and calls it, right there, an ugly ranky spine-red jellyfish. Even with that nasty look, she calmly decides it's the perfect kind of threat level and smirks like she owns the danger. Her friends practically bounce with excitement, begging her to hit the cutest pose for the camera. With a confident grin, Igarashi drops the real reason she's been taking these jobs. While Yuzoyama records, the other girls snap into fake shock as that stranger suddenly drops in. They howl like they're terrified for the video, then immediately start panicking. Do we really have to fight? Yuzuyama realizes the real mission isn't just performing, it's capturing a stage takedown for social media. Nadeshiko Yuzuyama knows, deep in his chest, that a 7-digit grudge is insanely powerful for a high school kid. Even so, that tight close-up of Yuzoyama's face screams the turmoil she's fighting inside herself. She can't shake the fact that killing strangers just to cash in and chase fame feels morally sick. In her mind, those legendary gardeners are pure noble heroes, ready to fight tooth and nail to protect everyone. She flips through a book that dares to ask one wild question. Is the mysterious unknown actually Japan's secret guardian? Her thoughts get ripped apart the moment the stage battle erupts, then suddenly, violently, it's over. With a loud wet splat, the spined red jellyfish gets instantly wiped out, no struggle at all. Mogarashi's confident sighs and contented grin as she casually brushed a stray hair from her face. Her friends burst in, raving about her strong, adorable model and firing off questions about that video. Even Yuzoyama, against her own will, looked impressed and told the Kinoko to send her the footage later. Kinoko shrugs and decides this is the Tokyo way, huh? First you record, then you fight, and then you rake in the praise. The whole group grumbles about the shaky footage and demands a fresh, more photogenic stranger to take the camera. Standing off from the crowd, Kinoko sucks in a deep breath and locks in, eyes sharp and focused. Her eyes snap wide open, and then, boom, her wild, extraordinary senses kick on like they've been waiting for this moment. A surge of city sensations crashes into her eyes, and suddenly a brand new target snaps into focus. She locks onto a colossal presence from 3 kilometers out, buried so deep beneath the earth it feels like it's roaring from inside the planet. With the others busy staring, the ground suddenly starts to shake, hard like the earth is furious. They keep arguing over whether that shaky footage somehow makes it feel more real, and one girl lights up, saying the clip could blow up online and go viral fast. Their relaxed chat gets snapped in half when a weird sound suddenly grabs their attention. The whole crew jerks their heads up, and their faces snap into a full-on storm of pure, unstoppable terror. Kinoko throws her arm up to the sky, grinning so wide it practically lights up her whole face. A gargantuan monster slams into the ground with a bone-rattling thunderclap, and the whole street shakes like it's about to split in two. An enormous armored beast towers over the 4 tiny figures, dwarfing them completely. Igarashi and Yuzuyama spot that A-ranked stranger from the textbook and freeze, utterly stunned. Kinoko pops out from behind the beast with a grin like, this is gonna be amazing to film. Yuzuyama whips around and finds her other friends already freaking out, sprinting for the exits. Left behind, she shakes uncontrollably, staring at her companions as they vanish into the distance. That monster's gargantuan armored limb starts to lurch toward her, radiating pure danger with every inch. Its huge body looms over her, swallowing the lonely girl in a terrifying, dark shadow. A terrifying thought snaps into her mind. Today is the day she dies. In the final heartbeat of defiance, her fingers clamp down on a jagged chunk of rubble. She whips the rock through the air, and it cracks the monster's head with a sharp, stubborn little tinkle. Staring down a towering stranger, Nadeshika Yuzuyama fires back and vows she'll be the distraction. She snaps around with raw determination, begging Kino, please run, and urgency pours from every word. With a defiant scream, she charges the monster head-on, craving a fight that ends with honor. Suddenly, that giant monster gets slammed and hurled straight past her. She's left totally stunned, with zero clue what just happened. The stranger snaps his gaze up, eyes wide, as a tiny figure drops from the sky like fate. Hanging in midair, Kino looks perfectly calm as she lines up her next deadly hit. A massive arc of energy splits the monster wide open, and Yuzuyama just stares, stunned beyond belief. With the defeated creature thundering to the ground, Kino touches down like it's nothing, just a soft, clean tap. She grins and shows you, right then and there, that one clean hand chop is all it takes. Kino casually lays out the monster's weak spot, and then casually reveals they've got plenty of it, back in Gamma. Her friend is left stunned like, how is someone this casually flexing that much power? Kino clocks that she just overshared, panics instantly, and blurts out a wild, non-stop apology that won't stop. Then she slams to the ground, bowing low in pure, desperate need. Gazing downward, Yuzuyama murmurs Kino's full name, right as her mind starts to spin out of control. With a stone-cold, serious face, Yuzuyama drops a shocking bombshell. She's asking to be her apprentice. Kino is totally floored by the offer, and her face turns into pure confusion. So now she's left staring at the question, who in their right mind would choose to become an apprentice over staying loyal to a friend? Later on, a brutal rainstorm crashes over the city streets like thunder itself has come to hunt. At home, Kino's sister Eiko yanks open the front door. Ako steps beneath her umbrella, then spots a stranger down the rain-slick street. She yells for Kino, and Kino answers that she came back with an umbrella for her. Kino flashes her sister a tiny, bright smile as she greets her. Huddled up with Yuzuyama, Kino beams as she proudly declares she's finally made herself a friend. Inside, Yuzuyama steps up with full formality and introduces herself to Eiko as Kino's new apprentice. Eiko just stares, totally unimpressed by that weird title. The word apprentice blasts through the rain-choked city streets like it's warning everyone what's coming. Yuzuyama flashes a polite smile and offers him a warm cup of tea she just brewed. She keeps insisting, head bowed, that she's nothing at all, no one worth their attention. Yoma Yuzo flashes a warm, gentle smile that instantly puts you at ease. Kino decides that heading home together and sharing tea is the moment they're officially friends. Ecstatic, she frantically slams the family altar bell, and her grandpa's right there as she shouts her win from the rooftops. Yuzuyama leans in close and murmurs to Eiko in private. I shoot her a suspicious look, grilling her with questions to see if she's really my friend. With a hooded sweatshirt pulled over her head, a short-haired girl calmly grips a reflective disc, like she's hiding something bright and dangerous. At the dining table, Eiko clocked Nadeshiko's stunned face after seeing her sister's power explode in front of her. Nadeshiko can barely hold it in. She blurts out that she wants the secrets behind that terrifying strength. Her eyes lock in and she drops the truth, because suddenly the real, far more important question hits like a punch. She straight up asks if Eiko's sister is that legendary world-ranked #1 nobody's been able to pin down. Nadeshiko's eyes burn with razor-sharp focus, and they demand answers to her accusation. A tense hush stretches over the table while she waits for his answer. Eiko stays silent, her face turning into a locked door the second he presses her. Kinoko flashes a grin and blurts out, "Wanna know the secret identity behind the unknown?" Now Shiko clocks how Kinoko has zero clue about her own secret, and it's freaking her out. She flat out says that only a top-tier ranker could knock down an A-class stranger like it was nothing. She lays out her proof and lands the verdict: Kinoko is officially the world's one. Kinoko waves it off like it's nothing, straight up doubting she could ever reach rank #1. Nadeshiko finally sees it. Kinoko's lonely life in Gunma is why she's completely clueless. That thought exposes Kinoko's naivety fast. She's never even bothered to check the rankings. Eiko realizes it's only shy Nadeshiko who can now uncover Kinoko's real identity. Nadeshiko's cunning smile blooms the second she realizes she's got the upper hand. She starts plotting in the shadows, ready to swing this secret like a weapon to control her ruthless uncle. Becoming a gardener at last feels like it's finally right within her grasp. In a split-second burst of motion, Nadeshiko lunges and tackles Kinoko, and they both crash hard to the floor. She snatches her friend by the arm and blurts, "Do you get it? If you don't, you're in big trouble. Serious consequences are coming." Nadeshiko shoots a warning. Everyone on Earth is frantically hunting for what's out there, and they don't even know its name yet. She paints a brutal picture of the non-stop, crushing attention she'd get the second they found her. Kinoko freezes in terror as a nightmare vision of media swarms and ruthless public scrutiny crashes over her. The moment the thought hits her, she crumples into the corner, trembling with pure terror. Nadeshiko watches her master's terrified meltdown unfold, and she can't help but worry, burning through her like pure exhaustion. Kneeling beside her, she leans in and softly presses, "So, what does Kinoko truly want?" With a bright, warm smile, she vows to back Kinoko's apprentice all the way. Kinoko shot her gaze upward, and the truth hit her so hard that her face crumpled with raw shock and vulnerability. She drops her guard and confesses one simple dream, just to be a normal high school girl. She tells you it wasn't just a dream, this was her beloved grandfather's dying wish, the last thing he ever asked her to chase. Now that Shiko's expression goes stone cold, she basically shuts the dream down, thinking that kind of wish is totally impossible. She steels herself and thinks, "I can't back off, I'll lose my edge, and that's not an option." She blurts out a yes, she'll help Kinoko guard her identity and chase the dream she's been fighting for. Overwhelmed with relief, Kinoko bursts out with heartfelt gratitude for Nadeshiko's promise to help. Eiko clocks it. Nadeshiko's acting suspicious as hell, but her sister's pulling off a totally normal, no-drama routine. As Eiko munches on her snack, she shrugs and thinks, "I'll just sit back and see what this turns into." Nadeshiko clears her throat, ready to kick off her very first lesson in living like everything's normal. She tells Kinoko to stop beating up strangers, because one more swing will draw attention like a spotlight. Kinoko can't even believe it. Somehow he's strong enough to wipe out an A-rank monster like it's nothing. Her confusion spikes as she blurts, "Wait, what does A-rank even mean?" Nadeshiko QUY letter 1 EBFTLY decides she's going to teach her everything, so this world can't touch her and she stays safe. She's so confident that she thinks wrangling Kinoko's secrets from here on out is going to be effortless. Eiko cuts in mid-lesson and demands, "Show me grandfather's final instructions." Eiko gives Nadeshiko a moment of calm, then promises, right to her face, that she'll protect Kinoko no matter what. Now Shiko doubles down on her plan. Staying right beside Kinoko is the whole key to becoming a gardener, and it even starts with clothes that are easy to wear. Kinoko slides over the note, and what it reveals is a training plan so impossible it feels unreal. Nadeshiko freezes in horror when she spots the S-rank helmet hunter on the hunting list. Kinoko calmly tells her the note's ridiculous instructions are dead wrong. She doesn't say another word, she just shoves the window open and disappears, leaving Nadeshiko totally baffled. She bursts into the pouring rain, and Nadeshiko's voice slices through the storm as she shouts her name. In the middle of the pounding rain, Kinoko inhales hard, then crushes the note in her fist like it's burning her. A monstrous vortex of pure energy detonates from her hand with a deafening roar. Her clenched fist becomes the lightning rod for this unstoppable wave of destruction. She lashes a punch into the sky, making it crystal clear. This training isn't about sets. With a fierce stare, she drops the truth. This was 1,000 sets of 1,000. Eiko blurts out the truth. She totally misread 4 as 1,000, and that one slip turned it into 1,000,000 reps. Kinoko cuts in with a sharp, stern warning. Neshiko better not ever call her sister an idiot. Nadeshiko's forehead beads with sweat as she finally admits Kinoko might be right about her sister. Eiko leans in and demands to know if Kinoko really wipes out 1,000 S-ranked strangers every single day. Nadeshiko snaps that Kinoko went after every single one of the 4 S-ranked types until extinction was the only ending left. Eiko grips Nadeshiko's hands with desperate, unrelenting force. She begs for help to turn her reckless sister into a normal high school girl. Eiko grins, then drops a creepy little warning. Don't you dare try to teach her anything weird. As they yank her away, Nadeshiko finally understands just how impossible that promise really is. Normalizing Kinoko is treated like a straight-up mission impossible. No one expects it to go right. She panics inside her head, terrified she just swore to something completely unhinged. The city skyline towers overhead, screaming just how massive her impossible mission really is. Nadeshiko shot back, how in the world did anyone survive a place like Gunma? Kinoko shrugs like it's nothing and says they just hauled fresh water straight up from the river. They risked their lives hunting deadly strangers for dinner, then scavenged and fought their way to wild mushroom feasts. They even churned out their own electricity, and it left Nadeshiko absolutely stunned with how primitive it all was. The story whips us straight into the non-stop chaos of a modern Tokyo train station. Nadeshiko's promise weighs on her mind while Kinoko squirms with pure, jittery panic inside the packed crowd. She's stuck staring at Kinoko like, where do I even start teaching you what normal is? The train doors hiss shut behind her as she steps onto the packed platform, alone, bracing for whatever hits next. Just a second later, unease crashes into her like she suddenly knows something's seriously off. Nadeshiko gets swallowed by the crowd and panics, scanning everywhere as she frets over where the heck Kinoko disappeared to. Kinoko is discovered sprawled peacefully on the roof of a train that's already tearing down the tracks at full speed. A calm, radiant smile spreads across her face as she soaks in the steady rhythm of the journey. She finds the rooftop's quiet solitude way calmer than the packed chaos of the car below. Later, furious Nadeshiko rips into her master, furious that she has zero common sense. Kinoko admits that the packed train was basically impossible for her to survive. She lowers her gaze, cheeks burning, because she can't handle the crowd and it shows. Then she blurts out that hiding under a truck should totally be an acceptable backup plan. Her whole logic is simple. If she's not in anyone's way, then everything's cool. Teshiko grabs her attention and tells her, "Stay right by my side, I'm going to show you how to be normal." With a soft, confident smile, she lays out a deal that benefits both of them. She begged Kinoko to teach her how to fight, promising her guidance in return. Even though Kinoko is moved by her kindness, Nadeshiko quietly masterminds what she'll do next. Nadeshiko swears to herself that this is the road that will turn her into a real gardener. Next day at school, Kinoko barrels down the hallway, heading straight for the restroom. Shiko slumps alone at her desk, staring down at her phone like it's the only thing keeping her from breaking. A mocking voice cuts through the air, sneering at her like, "Wow, honor student," with pure sarcasm dripping off every word. Her former clique closes in, eyes sharp, and needles her with a snide question. "So, are you still alive?" The leader snaps, kicking her out of the group because she keeps hanging out with Kinoko. Nadeshiko calmly declares, "I'm quitting," then thanks them for the time they gave her. She assures them she'll never spill that they bolted from a stranger yesterday. The girl panics and blurts out that it couldn't possibly have been an A-rank monster they just saw. Ishiko's smile drops and her voice turns serious as she lets you know she's got one final thing to say. That sweet, dangerous smile creeps across her face as she warns them, never, ever mess with Kinoko again. The clique leader stalks off, brushing off the whole tense mess with a sharp, whatever. Kinoko comes back from the restroom and instantly feels the eerie vibe lingering in the air. Yuzuyama whips around to her friend and says she's totally in the mood to celebrate. With a dazzling grin, she practically beckons her master to jump into a sneaky little detour with her. Kinoko barely even thinks. She jumps at the surprise after-school invite the moment it lands in her lap. Their detour dumps them right into Shibuya, the famously packed, non-stop electric district that never slows down. Massive digital billboards screamed out warnings about strange behavior and blared Ministry of Defense rules for everyone to obey. Right by the station, a flashy sign dares people to take part-time work for subjugating strangers. Right after they finally order their drinks, Yuzuyama lets out a low, relieved sigh. She steps out of the trendy cafe and admits, breathless, how nerve-wracking the whole experience was. She tells Kinoko, yeah, buying drinks and studying, that's what normal girls do. Inside the cozy cafe, a student sits by the big window, studying in total peace like nothing in the world can touch them. Kinoko just can't believe it. Tokyo girls can turn even the simplest task into full-on fashion magic. She dreams about becoming that cool, confident version of herself as she takes a sip of her drink. A flashback rips open and shows Kinoko trying to order in a total panic, stuttering nonsense at the counter like everything's spinning. That painfully embarrassing moment got recorded, exploded online, and racked up over 100 million views. They lounge on a bench outside, boxed in by the giant skyscrapers towering over them like the whole city is watching. Yuzuyama leans in and tells her, yeah, this kind of unwanted attention, totally normal for high school girls. Kanoko's face turns serious as she starts peppering her friend with one tough question. She leans in and fires a question at Yuzuyama. What on earth is a normal, high school girl even supposed to be? Yuzuyama's eyes flicker wide as she realizes the question is way harder than it looks. She rattles off the usual friend stuff, but in private she confesses the brutal truth. She's not really anyone's true friend. Turns out normal isn't something you can just label. It's way harder than she ever thought. Kinoko is casually balancing her drink on her head, perfectly steady, while she keeps writing like it's nothing. When Yuzuyama offers that drink, he basically tells them, start simple, don't go doing anything weird. She blurts out an instant apology, admitting her comment was way too rude to her brand new friend. Far away, Eiri Hashinamiya grips her phone and glares at the screen, trying to wrap her head around the data that just doesn't make sense. Standing on the rooftop, she can't stop wondering if some mystery force caused the weird, whether that hit yesterday. Her phone flashes a warningless report of an updraft, so insanely strong it feels impossible. She fires off a command to her AI assistant and makes it pull up the bonus footage from the incident. The results hit with 99.9% certainty that high school girl did it. Ari is absolutely stunned, because the unknown person isn't some mystery at all, they're a student. She leans over the edge, stares down at the school, and locks in, yep, she finds the video's source is the ministry. The file's missing key data, so nobody can pin down who the subject is. Everything about them is a full-on mystery to everyone. She can barely get the words out as she stares in shock. Her toughest rival is just a high school girl. She snaps an order to TARS, widen the hacking range, and dig up every last piece of info. Her eyes sharpen with fierce resolve, like she's ready to tear the truth out of the shadows. On the street below, Kinoko tilts her head up with a face so innocent it almost looks unreal. She and Yuzuyama stare up at that towering skyscraper, and their jaws drop at what humans can build. Yuzuyama clocks that the observation deck is shut tight, and the price tag is way too brutal. She mutters under her breath that she really needs to hunt down more part-time jobs. Kinoko watches her friend feel her worry, right as the brutal admission price crushes in. She whips around to Yuzuyama and asks, wanna head up and catch that view? Before Yuzuyama can even speak up, Kinoko sweeps her into a Princess Carry like it's nothing at all. Yuzuyama's eyes blow wide with pure terror, because the next moment about to hit is going to be brutal. A savage burst of wind slams against them as they rocket up the building, so fast it feels impossible. Her face twists into a silent scream, pure and totally unfiltered terror. Her face snaps into wide-eyed shock the moment they launch through the sky. In the blink of an eye, they touch down like legends on the rooftop of a towering skyscraper. Yuzuyama crumples to the ground, wheezing hard because for real, she thought she was about to die. Kinoko whips around to face them, grinning like she just won, and gestures at the mind-blowing view. Yuzuyama reminds her that jumping off buildings isn't just crazy, it's also flat-out illegal. The story snaps to the next scene and drops us right into another character's life. Eiri's been living a total double life. One minute she's the beloved, popular student everyone adores, and the next she's tied to something far bigger as a powerful gardener. On her rare days off, she slips into her private bus and shuts the whole world out, relaxing all alone. Worn to the bone from her duties, she cracks open an energy drink and chugs it down in one go. The tale whips over to a stranger on a relentless hunt, and a cooking session that feels straight up otherworldly. Kinoko clutches a handful of whimpering stranger shrooms ripped straight from a forbidden zone. She sprinkles in salt, pours soy sauce, and lets dashi stock simmer into the pot, seasoning the soup with total care. She proudly serves up her grandpa's special soup, and Yuzoyama's face instantly screams dismay. Kinoko leans in and explains, "This is just basic survival," right as some random kid passing by points her out. Pushing her meal to the side, Yuzoyama leaps to her feet, all set for combat training. Kinoko finally admits she's never once really stopped to wonder how she could get stronger. Yuzoyama makes it crystal clear, her training is all about stepping in and taking out strangers herself. She lays it out clearly, she wants to start by hunting down weak, F-rank strangers. She pictures herself climbing the ranks for real, growing her skills the same way a gardener nurtures every perfect plant. Suddenly, Kinoko locks in and starts sniffing the air like she's tracking something only she can sense. Dropping onto all fours, she instantly catches the scent of prey nearby. Yuzoyama grabs her to a halt and tells her straight up, hunting private strangers is illegal. She makes it crystal clear you'll need a permit, but then she smirks and reveals she's got a totally different plan up her sleeve. She whips out a job ad from a private company named Grimmoire and shoves it in Kinoko's hands. As they stride along, Kinoko leans in and confirms that Yuzoyama's uncle is tied to the ministry. Yuzoyama lets out a heavy sigh and flat out tells her he's dead against her becoming a gardener. She gets a panic-filled text from her uncle. He's warning her about fresh stranger sightings. She swats away his worry, labeling him overprotective and claiming he always blows things out of proportion. Her hands come into view, one grips the phone, the other clenches into a tight fist like she's ready to snap. They run into Aiko and you can see it. Blisters cover her hands from sheer non-stop training. Ako says this is the ultimate proof. Someone normal gave it everything they had. Kinoko gazes at her sister and slips on a soft, warm smile that feels like pure understanding. The whole crew decides they'll throw everything they've got into their brand new part-time job. A woman's hand shoots up and beckons them in, steering their focus straight to the meeting spot. The camera swings wider and boom, you see the whole staging area packed for every part-time worker. An employee from Grimmoire snaps into the break room and marches up to the part-timers, laying out their simple task like it's nothing. She thanks everyone for jumping in and helping with today's brutal subjugation work. She reassures them the company is fully licensed and ready to deal with complete strangers. Kinoko and Yuzoyama can't hide their excitement, staring forward like, all right, this is it, because they're finally about to kick things off. A white van rips out of the staging area and barrels into the city. The car barrels through a busted, overgrown Tokyo sector that's off-limits to everyone. Inside the van, a bunch of day laborers crammed together, different faces, dead tired eyes, all looking completely worn out. Kinoko can't believe how wild this job feels compared to that mindless shell-collecting grind. Yuzoyama spills that the real reason everyone's scrambling for manpower is stranger cores. The van keeps rolling through the desolate, overgrown streets, grinding forward like it refuses to stop. In the front seats, the two employees trade a sly, knowing look like they're sharing a secret. They slipped on gas masks in a blink, moving so quietly it screamed, something's definitely off. One of them slams a button on a gadget bolted to the dashboard. A huge wave of white gas suddenly crashes into the back of the van. Kinoko and Yuzoyama stared at that weird gas, their faces frozen in shock and pure confusion. Other passengers start hacking hard, eyes wide, all of them panicking as they try to figure out what the heck is going on. Yuzoyama leans in, trying to warn the driver that the car is in serious trouble, like something's about to go horribly wrong. Her strength starts to crumble, and the gas begins to drag her down. In the back of a rattling van, Yuzoyama slumped over, totally out cold. Right next to her, the other part-timers are passed out too, snoring in soft, steady bursts. A blast of white gas fills the van's cabin, but somehow one girl, Kinoko, stays awake. As the van rips through the city streets, it barrels straight for a creepy, swallowed-up, overgrown underpass. It barges into a dead, deserted zone where eerie crystal growths jut out from the buildings like something from the beyond. With a violent screech of tires, the vehicle slams to a stop inside a huge garage. Two hooded figures burst from the shadows, Love and an alligator coming to meet it. Peering inside, Love smirks and asks her little lambs if they're dreaming nice and snug. Alligator grins will be thrilled because they're convinced their founder, Grimmoire, is going to love this. They're planning to turn those captives into sacrifices for their one-eyed church. Alligator barks the command, start hauling the unconscious victims out of the van. The vehicle's side door grinds open with a vicious metallic groan. Love's confident smile snaps into a look of absolute, jaw-dropping shock. Alligator can't believe what they're seeing when they step inside, because the sight waiting for them is totally unexpected. Kinoko snaps awake, flashes a menacing grin, and growls, "So our plan's busted now." The two cultists are left totally stunned when their sleeping gas fails to work. Love trembles with nervous whispers, praying the gardener hasn't stumbled onto their cult. Kinoko gasps in full panic and blurts out, "Do I need to call an ambulance for us?" Alligator waves her off like she's nothing, just some top-tier student who dared to resist the gas. She decides to end it, cracks her knuckles, and squares up, ready to throw down. A phantom of a woman slips in behind unsuspecting Kinoko, and you can feel the moment she's about to strike. With a chilling grin, she lines in and orders Kinoko to sleep tight. Love glides into the garage, perfectly poised to crush her target. Both cultists go wide-eyed when they realize Kinoko has vanished without a trace. Right out of nowhere, Kinoko pops up beside the stunned alligator, looking totally lost. A massive blast erupts on screen, and razor-sharp lines of force explode outward like it's tearing reality open. She lands a savage kick and launches the alligator soaring through the air like a cannonball. Alligator's eyes went huge with pure shock as a brutal, sudden attack slammed into him from out of nowhere. Kinoko's face goes pale with pure horror as he clutches up his shoe and blurts out an apology, stammering like he can't even breathe. The dazed alligator stumbles to the ground and blurts out, "Did I do something to provoke you?" In the middle of class, a classmate shoots a shocked glance and blurts out that Yuzoyama is always glued to Kino now. The next day, seeing Yuzoyama's shaken face, her classmate immediately suspects she's getting bullied. A notebook flashes open, pages packed with ominous, heavy-sounding words like absolute void slash. This classmate right here, Yuzoyama, is sitting in class and whispering these weird, creepy phrases under her breath. The chapter title, asterisk, The Way of the Part-Timer, asterisk blasts across the garage like a warning flare. Alligator, a world rank #899 powerhouse, whips a crushing kick straight at Kinoko. She snaps up the high-speed attack with zero effort, and in that instant you can feel how insanely strong she really is. The alligator snaps backward onto a towering ledge, its nerves shredded by the sheer force of that brat. Kinoko was betrayed and panicked, blurting out an apology for accidentally showing off her insane power. She blurts out the truth, she's clueless, because she only just moved to Tokyo from the countryside. Alligator snaps her eyes up at him, suspicious as hell, like she's trying to figure out whether he's a secret agent from the Ministry of Defense. Kinoko nervously insists she only figured the van had broken down. She drops a wild rumor, strangers who somehow make people fall asleep, then they feast on them. Even as she swears she's normal, Alligator slams the brakes and demands to know exactly who she really is. Love barrels right up in her face, snarling like a threat, demanding she spit out the truth. Kinoko's chest tightens with panic as she realizes her interrogators are absolutely unhinged and furious at her. She's terrified this bizarre incident will get her fired. She can still feel the excitement on Yuzoyama's face. The job was all he ever talked about. A brutal vision flashes. Yuzoyama clings to the blame and snarls that it's all her fault they both got fired. She pictures her friends slamming the door on their friendship and vanishing for good. In the present, she starts to shake like crazy, and her captors feel the fear creeping in. Her eyes ignite with sudden, desperate resolve, no doubt left, not a flicker. She dives through the air like a missile, charging straight for the two cultists. They clench up, dead sure she's finally ready to strike. Instead, she glides across the floor and drops into a deep, full prostrating bow. With her forehead smashed to the ground, she trembles and begs them, "Please don't fire me." She shrieks that her friend had been counting down for this chance like it was the biggest thing ever. Moments later, robed figures hurry into view, dragging unconscious bodies on stretchers like they've already chosen who lives and who doesn't. Yuzoyama lies in an infirmary bed, eyes heavy, while shadowy figures hover close and care for him. Love reassures the alligator and tells him his friend is safe and already on her way. Love then ropes Kinoko into her company break room invitation. To prove he trusts her, the robed stranger steps in and offers to watch her bag for her. They lure unsuspecting Kinoko into a long, lifeless hallway that feels like it goes on forever. Elsewhere, a lab technician drops a chilling report, and somehow it sends an alligator into a full-blown love frenzy. He swore her canteen was packed with a bizarre drink from another world. The alligator snaps to a horrifying conclusion right away: someone must have poisoned him. Love is now convinced Kinoko's earlier panic was nothing but a perfectly played act. Meanwhile, Kinoko grins and daydreams about the otherworldly soup she can't wait to devour later. Two cultists huddle in whispers, freaking out over one thought: is she a spy sent by the ministry? Sinister grins creep over the alligators' faces and the idea forms. With zero doubt, he tells Love that her act can't fool him. His eyes know the truth. He unveils his jaw-dropping deduction. She's world rank #222, Pianko Gamokara. Love's jaw drops in total disbelief at this wild, completely absurd claim. She spots Pianko and instantly knows it's that legendary foodie TV celebrity everyone's obsessed with. Alligator snaps at his partner, telling him to think hard and see the whole situation before he makes a move. He throws out a sharp question: has anyone ever actually seen Pianko fight? Love suddenly clicks for her, and she gasps as everything finally makes sense. In a gut-punch flashback, Pianko blasts her family records onto live TV, right there for everyone to see. Alligator claims the whole thing was cooked up, just a fabrication planted by the Ministry of Defense. He finally cracks it: the real Pianko is living a double life, rocking a student cover while secretly acting as an agent. Love reels, crushed by the wild, supposed depth of this government conspiracy. She breaks down, mourning how the government just ripped another victim's life apart. The story paints the government as a cold machine that grabs people by their very names and twists them into tools. Alligator snaps that the world they live in is rotten through and through. He rages against a society that chains people to a ranking system. His fiery speech surges higher and higher until revolutionary fury erupts like a thunderclap. With his fist thrust high, he declares they'll rip the world out of order and shove it back into chaos. Kinoko cuts in midrant and blurts out, "Is something wrong?" Alligator snaps her off fast, saying this conversation stays locked away in private. The three of them sprint down the hall and reach the elevator at the very end. Love leans in and whispers their plan, clocking that their target's ranked #222, way higher than they'll ever be. A sly grin spreads across Alligator's face as he cooks up a plan. He slams the button for the 20th basement floor, hell-bent on wiping her out. The elevator kicks off a terrifying, deep-throated drop, rumbling straight down into the heart of the facility. It lets out a sharp ding the second it crashes into basement level 20. Three figures freeze in the dark, staring down a huge, locked door like it's daring them to break through. Alligator types a code into the digital keypad and cracks the lock open. Those heavy metal doors groaned as they slowly swung wide, and the room beyond finally came into view. Love shot a warm look inside and beckoned Kinoko into the break room. Kinoko lets out a breath at the huge open space, and then the doors start rumbling as they slam shut. From the tremble of a rumbling door, a woman in a gothic dress beckons her guest inside. The heavy metal door slams shut with a final, decisive asterisk clunk behind a schoolgirl. Trapped in place, Kinoko spots a huge banner on the wall, an all-seeing eye staring right back at her. Elsewhere, Sasa kicks off a chilling story about a stranger who just wouldn't die, even after everything they tried. With sheer raw power, his leader, Lord Grimmoire, managed to seize the S-rank beast in his grasp. He lays it out: modern history books lie through their teeth, claiming that creature was never really defeated. Sasa squints hard and boom, reveals the Grimoire still controls that beast deep underground. He's about to slam down a name, one stranger's arrival that's guaranteed to ignite chaos across Tokyo. A monstrous multi-headed serpent dragon erupts into view, and it's none other than the Yamantano Orochi. A massive beast silhouette towers over Kinoko, and this enemy is so huge it even laughs at a rank #222. Sasa smirks and promises that anyone who dares to stand against their cult won't survive. He'll erase them. A student tells them straight up, if you want your rank to jump, you've got to beat strangers and rack up experience points. He realizes pounding the body with simple training has a hard ceiling, and it just doesn't cut it the way he needs. The student pictures the world's #1 ranker as a feral warrior who's stuck in a loop of slaughter, unable to stop. He can't shake the fear that someone that powerful might be too monstrous to stop. Kinoko's right there at the start of the scene, and those colossal heads of the Yamata no Orochi loom over her like a living nightmare. One of the serpent's many heads hisses out a nasty growl and closes in on her, like it's ready to strike. Kinoko tilted her head up at the S-ranked monster, curiosity flickering in her eyes instead of fear. She creeps up to the locked door and blurts out a shaky call, hoping someone will finally hear her. Kinoko steps in politely, trying to warn her hosts that a stranger is lurking in their lounge. She calls out again and again. Silence swallows every word as she glares down a dead, sealed hallway. A gigantic head towers over her, snaps its long tongue out, and she calls out again with panic in her voice. With grit in her eyes, she lashes out and slams an open palm across the creature's face. The serpent's head snapped back in shock, thrown off by that sudden disciplinary blow. The beast's many heads clenched their teeth, reeling from shock while a dull sting of pain crawled in. Kinoko tilts her head and studies the strange creature like she's trying to crack a mystery. Then she spots a brutal chain and a thick shackle clamped around one of the monster's limbs. She starts scratching its head, murmuring to herself like, "Wait, are we really keeping you as a pet?" She remembers her grandfather's warning, never trust dangerous strangers who can breathe fire. She refuses to take it on because she's terrified it'll blow up their part-time job. One of the serpent's heads grins and playfully snaps its jaws around her hand. Somewhere else, a wild burst of light tore across the sky, crackling with a weird pattern that left Gulf Suzuyama staring in shock. She got knocked clean off her feet, totally scrambled by that sudden magical blast. She jolts awake to a nightmare, people nailed in crosses, screaming on glowing crystal structures. Uzuyama panics as she blurts out who those massive robed figures in the crowd below even are. She strains against the straps, panicking as she realizes there's no way out. She's totally locked in place. A pair of shiny dress shoes stomps forward with a heavy, deliberate thud. Sasa and I drop to our knees, hearts pounding, as our leader closes in. A huge crowd of robed followers stands shoulder to shoulder in the grand hall, and they don't make a sound. The truth hits hard. Alexandro's Grimmoire, the man at the top, is none other than the legendary world rank #11. He snaps his third eye into place, declaring it shows him the whole future, crystal clear. Grimmoire shot a chilling glance over his crucified captives, savoring every second of it. Perched on his throne, he praises his subordinates for crushing it with flawless results. Sasa and I shot them a humble thank you, because we honestly feel like we don't deserve this praise at all. Yuzoyama watches the wild ceremony unravel, and dread sits heavy behind her eyes. She spots other captives too. There's even a young man bound the same way, shaking with pure terror. A huge mob of kidnapped civilians erupts in terrified screams, clawing at their captors as they beg to be freed. Grimmoire roared at the terrified crowd to shut their useless screaming down. His face swallowed by shadow, he snaps at his captives, foolish, lost lambs, like he can't believe they're still stuck. He kicks off a heated sermon, laying out how the Ministry of Defense clawed its way to power through the world rankings. He says they tagged him as a threat and nailed him under non-stop, crushing surveillance. Arms thrown wide, he declares that chaos is the real heart of equality. The young man nailed to the crucifix nearby grumbles in shock, completely baffled by what the leader just said. With a calm, haunting smile, Grimmoire glides his hand from his cane and whips out a long blade. He lunges forward and drives his blade straight through the young man, who dared to challenge his grand vision. His followers scream right back at him, chanting his manic demand like a curse, throw the world straight into chaos. Yuzoyama's stomach drops in terror as the man's body buckles and slumps. He's sure he's gone for good. She whips her head left and right, panicking because Kinoko isn't anywhere among the captives. The horrifying truth hits hard. Kinoko is nowhere in that hall. AI closes in on her, and Koli blurts that Bainko is gone for good. She fires off a mocking little reveal, Yuzoyama's ID, slamming it in her face and calling herself the ministry agent. Yuzoyama freezes in shock, convinced the murdered man was really Kinoko in disguise. She can't wrap her head around it, why they're so sure she's some kind of agent, or who in the world Pianko even is. One thing hits you instantly. She's trapped under the grip of a violently unhinged cult leader. The Grimoire flat-out declares that not a single thing will stand between him and his divine plan. Uzuyama shakes uncontrollably, terrified out of her mind as the horrible thought hits her. Her friend might be dead. She gulps hard, and her fear hits like a physical weight as the cult leader closes in, step by step. Grimmoire smirks and demands to know what her real objective is for showing up. The co-leader's eyes snap tight as he sizes up his defiant captured prize. He glares at her so-called loyal devotion to duty, right there, staring certain death in the face. He snatches the sword and promises to lay bare the cult's real purpose, like a parting gift before everything ends. With one savage slash, he yanks the blade right out of the dead man's body. Blood spills from the cross, dripping onto the gleaming crystal floor below. The moment the blood hits, the base of the structure erupts in a blinding, bright glow. The whole crucifix starts to groan and reshape itself, swallowed by a blast of blazing radiant energy. A monstrous fleshy appendage slams down and clamps the crucifix's base with brutal force. Yuzoyama can barely breathe as the crystalline structure fractures, cracking and exploding into sharp splinters under the relentless pressure. The appendage snaps back, gulping the crucifix whole and tucking it into its captive hole in one savage motion. Grimmoire towers over the grotesque bud it's about to birth, one that's about to reshape the world. He vows to unleash a disaster so massive he'll plunge Tokyo and all of Japan into total, screaming chaos. Yuzuyama finally gets it. His horrifying plan isn't just a threat, he's going to turn the whole city into a breeding ground for monsters. Grimmoire blasts out the ritual is finished, and his followers erupt into a roaring, zealous cheer. She knows she's completely alone, and there's no way she can get in touch with the ministry for help. Clenched in fury, she realizes she's the only one who can stop him. Elsewhere, Kenoko's sister is convinced of one thing: only Kinoko can flip this whole disaster around. Yuzuyama snatches her resolve right back, her face tightening as she gears up to strike. With a cocky smirk, she glares at the whole cult and warns them not to mess up and underestimate her. She brazenly flat-out lies, swearing the ministry has already rolled out countermeasures against them. That sudden bluff hits out of nowhere, and it rattles both Sasa and I for a split second. Yuzuyama's heart is racing. She knows she has to grab every second she can to buy Kinoko time. Grimmoire snaps wide-eyed and startled, his heart hammering as her bold claim hits him. Kinoko blurts out, jittery and low-voiced, about how fire races across anything, like it's drilled into her bones from training. In a flashback, a man leans in and grills Eiri Hashinamiya about her company's advanced healing capsule. Eiri smiles and offers to hand him one of those pricey units for free, like it's nothing at all. He snatches a look at the rental form she thrust into his hands, then braces himself, ready to sign. He cracks the case, turns out the rental's free, then gets hit with a jaw-dropper, a one-time fee of a whopping 10 million yen. He deadpans that her predatory move is the same old recurring revenue hustle, showing it's here to stay. In that other memory, Kinoko steals her resolve. She decides to go all out at her new job for her friend. She sinks into despair, clutching her head after accidentally butchering the contractor's precious pet. She panics hard, realizing she didn't think at all. She just moved on pure instinct, honed by her grandfather's brutal training. A young woman scrambles for excuses, swearing a fire-breathing pet looked too dangerous to ignore. She tries to steady her shaking heart, praying that whatever she just saw ended fast and without pain. Suddenly, the dispatched beast's huge skeletal head slams to a stop right in front of her. Dread crashes over her and her friend as they realize, no doubt, they're about to get fired. An anxiety storm surges in her chest, and suddenly she's seeing a terrifying vision: Yuzuyama ruining their brand new friendship before it even gets going. In a massive hall, cloaked figures press in, snapping questions at anyone who dares mention the defense ministry's countermeasures. With tears clinging to her eyes, she stands firm and refuses to break as they come for her. Another young woman jerks back, realizing this isn't just bad, it's gone full disaster. Yuzuyama smirks and swears she won't show her hand, while she's secretly bluffing to buy herself just a little more time. Lord Grimmoire, the cult's ruler, just stares her down, silent, hard, and grim, as he takes in her threat. A follower steps in and asks Lord Grimmoire, "So what do we do next with that defiant girl?" Yuzuyama's eyes stay locked on the target, sharp as a blade, projecting pure confidence and daring anyone to challenge her. Somewhere else, a watcher clocks the leader's face and swears they've seen it before, then realizes they still don't know his name. The captive Yuzuyama can't stop spiraling over the cult's chilling scheme, drag Tokyo down into the deep layers. She flicks her eyes to a huge, throbbing crystal object and can't stop wondering what the heck it's really for. Her mind snaps back to a nightmare she just saw, something horrifying, still burning in her memory. She still remembers the chilling moment that weird crystalline device swallowed a person whole. She lands on the chilling truth: this wasn't some random stranger, it was an unknown, otherworldly life form. With a shaky swallow, she realizes just how deadly this threat really is, and the fear hits like a wave. A shocking vision of a shattered city hits, and it confirms her worst nightmare: Tokyo is about to be wiped out. The dark-haired woman smirks as she confirms she's cracked the captive student ID records. The student portal flashes the truth: the captive's real name is Neidchiko Yuzuyama. A young man scoffs at what he just found on his phone, like the info is already insulting him. A database check clocks Yuzuyama as some barely their low 9-digit nobody, so they toss her aside as small fry. The man snaps his focus back to his leader, Lord Grimmoire. He calmly turns to his partner and asks, dead serious, if they should just wipe out that pathetic captive. Kinoko screams at the top of her lungs for them to wait. She's ready to trade ministry intel to save the hostages. Lord Grimmoire pretends she doesn't even exist, then ****, he's instantly right in front of the captive Yuzuyama. Yuzuyama stared up at him, her face frozen in total shock, like her mind couldn't even process what she was seeing. He leans in close, firing off the question, "Are you related to Yuzoyama from the Ministry's Extermination Division?" Kinoko is left speechless, her mind scrambling to make sense of the shockingly unexpected link. She snaps into disbelief, somehow that deadly villain knows her friend's uncle. A sudden gasp rips out of her as everything clicks into place and hits her like a gut punch. Lord Grimmoire studies her with a knowing, confident smirk that says he already has the whole situation figured out. Kinoko stares down at the official file and suddenly remembers he's seen that face before. The file slams his name into the record, Ipis Suzuki ***, and it labels him the brutal **world rank #11***. She finally gets it, how he could have known all about Yuzuyama's family and the ministry. She squares her shoulders, steps right up to him and calls him out. Turns out he's a ministry-appointed gardener. Grimmoire stands frozen in front of her, and the second she says the title, his whole posture snaps rigid. He snaps at her to shut up, and his voice oozes menace she can almost feel. Rage twists his face as he spits the title as a vile stain on his very soul. Yuzuyama the captive stares in shock, utterly thrown off by his own brutal, rage-filled outburst. Grimmoire kicks off his tail, going way back to the day he was nothing but a lowly banker. Behind bars, he finally realized it wasn't him who ruined everything, it was the world. A year later, he still remembers the moment he burst out of his cell, using the power that was finally growing inside him. He sharpened his skills by hunting down countless strangers on a lonely, shifting island. Once he finally made it back to the mainland, he crumpled on the beach, utterly spent. He wiped his glasses clean and braced himself, ready for whatever hit next. A man from the Ministry of Defense stepped up and introduced himself, Yuzuyama. A ministry official stepped forward and thrust out a hand, begging to borrow his insanely powerful strength. Ipizai narrows his eyes as the surprise offer hits him, then suspicion crawls in. A bead of sweat drips down his face, telling you he's exhausted and that he doesn't trust a soul. The two men grabbed each other's hands and sealed a brand new, shaky alliance, one that felt risky from the start. To get his name wiped clean, he traded everything and officially became a gardener. He admits that for a brief moment, he actually enjoyed helping people in his brand new role. He can't stop replaying that rush of real accomplishment, the kind that makes you feel like your life suddenly has purpose. But soon bitterness sparked because he couldn't stand being sent on yet another thankless mission. An older colleague leaned in and told him flat out that nobody was holding him here, he could leave any time he wanted. The man shoved the challenge in his face, sneering, "Go ahead, quit if you can't handle missing out on prison food." Ipe still remembers that unrelenting pressure. Day after day, the public never stopped whining. He can still hear their cries of unfair in his head, and he keeps asking, why did everyone else in other towns get help but not them? A jaw-dropping presentation proves he rocketed to rank 80 in just 2 years. He towers over the fallen monster, then sneers at humanity's endless, bottomless hunger. He realized the ministry was weaponizing his sincerity, wrapping him in fear and yanking control away from him. He clutched his temple, furious that arrogant humans could wipe out their debts so easily. The captive Yuzuyama stares down in silence, her thoughts clinging to her beloved uncle. She can barely wrap her head around it. How could her uncle be so cruel to anyone at all? Grimmoire, wrecked by anguish, suddenly got hit with a divine revelation. His shocking truth hit like a thunderclap. Chaos is the purest, most ruthless level playing field of all. His followers snap into a wild, non-stop chant, screaming for one thing: tear the world open and unleash pure chaos. He vows to turn the ministry into living sacrifices to fuel his cause. The hull shakes as he spits the words. Every drop of spilled blood will pour gasoline on the chaos. He summons the S-class stranger, Yamada no Arachi, the serpent of final flame. He just sits there calm as stone, watching his grand plan play out like it's perfectly choreographed. Kinoko bursts into view, and her face is a trembling mask of pure guilt and crushing despair. The scene flips and there she is, racing to apologize because she accidentally took out his pet. The road followers stared in total shock, absolutely stunned by this wildly absurd twist. A man is nailed up on a bizarre crystalline cross, and in the background you can't look away. Kinoko keeps blurting out frantic apologies, practically begging her manager, "Please don't fire me, I can't lose my part-time job." Lord Grimmoire throws a hand over his face, and you can see the raw, unfiltered rage burning through him.